Let's understand supervised and unsupervised learning in this video. When we are developing a model, we develop model through a process called model training, right? And when we do model training, we will be using data set for that. And that data set is called training data set or training input, okay? So the data set that we use for training can be classified into two major types. The first one is called labeled dataset and the second one is called unlabeled dataset. Let's understand labeled dataset with a couple of examples. Imagine that you have a bunch of images and your task is to identify what this image is, whether it is a dog image or cat image. And if you already have a label describing what image this is, whether it is a cat image or dog image, then this dataset is called a labeled dataset because you already have or you already know what would be the outcome if I feed this input to the model once it is trained. Okay, so this type of dataset is called labeled dataset. Here is another example for that. In this example, we have several records and each record describes an individual person. Now, with this record, we want to find out their age. And here we already have their age. Okay, so we somehow got this age. Either, we got them when we were collecting the data itself or some other system or human has provided this data for us. So we have their age. And this is what we are trying to predict once the model is trained. Okay, so basically the idea is we have data and we also know what is the expected outcome if this data is fed into a model once the model is trained. Okay, so this type of data set is called labeled data set. So normally these type of data sets are used for tasks like classification and regression. So in order to develop classification model or regression model, we use this type of data set. On the other side, we have unlabeled data set. This includes data without expected outcome or known outcome. So an example for this would be things like, say you have a bunch of Netflix user information, but you don't have anything like expected classes or labels or outcome or anything like that. Okay, this type of data set will be useful for tasks like clustering, right? For clustering, there is no concept of labels or expected outcome. The model training will somehow figure out the similarities between these records and the similar records will be grouped together, okay, into a cluster. So that is unlabeled data set. If we use the label to guide or supervise the training, in here, if we pass this data set where we have a bunch of images with their labels or this data set with the set of person detail with their age to train this model, this expected outcome or the known expected outcome will be used in the feedback loop. So the model will learn how to map this input to this output, right? So if we use this type of data set for training where the output is guiding or supervising the training process, then that type of learning is called supervised learning. On the other hand, if we don't use any label to guide or supervise the training process, then we call that as unsupervised learning. So if we take clustering as an example, we don't have any expected or known outcome. The model training somehow has to figure out the similarities between the data, right? So we don't have anything to guide like label or expected outcome. So this type of learning is called unsupervised learning. That is all I wanted to share in this video. I hope this is useful. Thank you.